The Dodgers win Game 4 of the National League Division Series over the Philadelphia Phillies 2-1 in 11 innings, and they are going to the National League Championship Series once again. What a freaking game last night, man. Holy. Incredible. Um, there are so many different ways that I can start with this. And first of all, I apologize for not having this out last night. Took me a while to get home. Obviously, the game ended. Stayed around Dodger Stadium, just soak it in the atmosphere, soak it in the celebration. Got to see them pop the champagne on the big board after the game. I literally left right when they told me to go. So by the time I got home, got some dinner, it was already like 9:30, and I had other stuff to do. So I apologize for not having this out um, last night. But the Dodgers figure out a way again to win a ball game, and you know the first it was so frustrating because this offense did really nothing in game 3, and they had their opportunities to score. It's not like they didn't have their opportunities. And again, it was happening in game 4. They were getting their opportunities to bring in some runners home. They had a couple times in game 4 yesterday off of Christopher Sanchez to get to him early in the game, get to him in the middle, and the Dodgers could take the lead and maybe win it in 9 innings. But didn't happen. But the Dodgers still were able to find a way to win a baseball game yesterday, and I thought that was crazy. What a well pitched game on both sides. I have the numbers in front of me. Glass now fantastic. 6 scoreless innings, only gave up 2 hits, had 3 walks, but he was still able to work around it, have 8 strikeouts. And listen, myself included, there was a lot of people that were very nervous that when Tyler Glasnow was taking the baseball in Game 4. Um, a lot of people did not believe in him because Tyler Glasnow has been known to struggle in the playoffs. He's had an ERA in the postseason of almost 6, but he delivered yesterday in probably the biggest start of his career up to this point. 6 innings of shutout innings, and he was at 80 something pitches, and I thought that he could have gone out there for the 7th inning, but apparently he started to cramp up a little bit, and that's why Dave Roberts took him out of the baseball game, and he went to Emmett Sheehan, and he did give up the one run that the Phillies did end up scoring. Kind of a weird inning for him. He gave up a hit and gave up a back-breaking um, he gave up a bat-breaking double to Castellanos to bring in the score's first run of the ball game, and then failed to catch the baseball on what would have been a 3-6-1 double play. The ball goes into the dugout. That's why Castellanos was able to get on second base. That's why Bohm was able to get on second base, and he would score on the double from Castellanos later in that inning. But the Dodgers still find a way, and the Dodgers scored both of their runs yesterday on a bases loaded walk by Mookie Betts, which was a tremendous at bat. Tremendous at bat. Um, it was a 101 mile an hour fastball up in the zone. Mookie, the great player that he is, doesn't bite at it, ties the game. And then, of course, the error to finish the game at the end. But just kind of going back, kind of got off there for a second. Just going back to the pitching, everybody fantastic. I know Sheehan gave up the one run, but still, he was still able to get out of it because there were runners, I believe, at the corners still. And another base hit, it's 2-0. It's an entirely different ball game, and Sheehan did a good job of just limiting the damage to one, still being able to make pitches after he gave up, after he dropped the baseball trying to turn the double play, and then he gave up the double to Castellanos to make it 1-0 Phillies. But he was still able to keep his composure, get out of that inning, and give this Dodger offense a chance. Roki Sasaki, once again, he has been a godsend for this Dodger bullpen, and so far up to this point, he has been one of the top best players on this Dodger postseason run so far. 3 scoreless innings again, 2 strikeouts. He just looked unhittable out there. He came in to pitch the 8th, the 9th, and the 10th inning. Fantastic. And he looked pretty good doing it. He looked made it look easy, and he was so locked in. Like during while the Dodgers were offense was at the plate, Roki was just literally standing there with a glove in his hand, just staying cool, wanted to go back out there, and he delivered once again. And Alex Vestia, fantastic. They took Sasaki out because they wanted Vestia in for the lefty matchup. They had Schwarber and Harper coming up back to back, the heart of the order in the Phillies lineup. He was able to get Schwarber. Um, did give up a walk to Harper. That sucked, but still was able to get out of it. Got the huge strikeout to Harrison Bader. It was a ball all the way, but Harrison Bader still swung and missed at it, so that was great to see. And now shifting over this Dodger offense, like I said, they didn't do much of anything in Game 3, and they had their chances in Game 3, and they had their chances in Game 4 to win, but still, the Dodgers still find it a way to grind at bats out, get the bases loaded, get Christopher Sanchez out of the game, and you knew that Johan Duran was going to be the first, most likely the first Phillies pitcher out of the bullpen. Even if the Dodgers were winning in at that point when he was coming in, or if the Phillies were winning, definitely he was going to come in no matter what. And it was kind of very interesting to see kind of Duran. I don't want to say meltdown because melting down would have been, hey, he gave up like a bunch of walks and a base hit, and the Dodgers would have won 5-1. That's not what happened, but he got a little rattled a little bit by that Dodger crowd. And shout out to the Dodger fans. So I know I'll touch on it at the end there, but they made a lot of noise there in that seventh inning when the team needed it, rallied, and then of course the great at bat by Mookie Betts to tie the game. Um, Unfortunately, that's all they would get in that inning. Teoscar Hernandez swung at 4 balls from Duran. If he would have just kept the bat on his shoulders, he would have had a 4-pitch walk, and the Dodgers would have won 2-1. But listen, I understand it. Teoscar has had a good series offensively at the plate. He's played 2 good defensive games at Dodger Stadium, so I'll give him credit. He's bounced back defensively, but trying to do a little too much, trying to be the hero. I understand it. He was trying to hit that ball, bases loaded in the bottom of the seventh inning. He was trying to hit that ball to the parking lot in left field, without question. He was trying to hit that ball to the parking lot, and Dodger Stadium definitely would have exploded if that would have happened. But trying to do too much, instead, not being disciplined, struck out, and then nobody scored until that crazy 11th inning when, you know, the Dodgers again put up great at bats there in the 11th inning. I'm gonna take you through just what happened. So, Freddie Freeman strikes out swinging. He had a kind of a bad series, but again, Luzardo nasty. All these left-handers disgusting. And then Tommy Edman gets a huge knock. He had a good series this week. He had a very good series. Didn't get on base every single time, but he was still getting base hits. He had a home run in Game 3 the other night. He had a good series. He had a very good series. So shout out to Tommy Edman. And then he was replaced by Haesung Kim, and I was surprised that Haesung Kim was not running there. I know his Luzardo the lefty, but the whole idea of I thought of obviously you want a speed runner, to potentially win the game here for you, and obviously with Tommy Edman on a bad ankle, you don't want to risk it because you need his bat and you need his defense there in the lineup every single night. But I thought they were gonna steal with Haesung Kim. That was the first thing I thought of when I saw him out there, but didn't happen. Will Smith lines out sharply to center field, and for a second there, it looked like it had some carry to it. And it looked like it could have gotten over his head. Didn't happen. He caught it. And then Max Muncy, who had a rough series, didn't really get that many ABs this series because of all the left-handed pitchers for the Philadelphia Phillies. The 3 starters, Christopher Sanchez, Luzardo, and Suarez. Muncy was not really a part of this series that much, but he was still able, on the first pitch, I may add, get a ball over the plate, just kind of dump it into center field to hit a base hit, and with Haesung Kim's speed, was able to go from first to third to set up the winning run. And then, and then he gets taken out for Orion O'Kirkry, and then Kike Hernandez, big walk there in the bottom of the 11th inning, and kind of looked like he tweaked something. Maybe it's like his hamstring or something because there was an injury delay. He did have to come out on an 0-2 pitch, but he was still able to go out there, or maybe it was 2-2, but whatever. He still was able to draw a walk. And don't get me wrong, believe me, I know Kike wanted to be the hero in that moment, but great self awareness to just say, hey, if he's not going to throw me anything to hit, like I'm going to pass the baton, and hopefully the next guy will get it. And Andy Pages, who had an abysmal series. He was not good at the plate at all in this division series. Had some great defensive plays, including one um, in the earlier stages of the game. I think it was in the 10th inning where Alec Bohm got a hold of one, and it looked like he got it. It looked like he hit a home run, and Pages had to make a tough catch there in center, and great job by him. But the Dodgers have preached so much that just putting the ball in play, good things will happen, and that's exactly what happened. So we've all seen it. He hits a comebacker right to a Rhino Kirkry, and he bobbles it, he fumbles it, and then he just panics. And the thing that sucks, and the thing if you're a Phillies fan, you're gonna have to think about it all off season, is that you can clearly see on the replay and even on the live shot that the Phillies catcher JT Realmuto is pointing to first base to throw to Harper to get the third out, because at that point, if you look at it, Andy Pages was not halfway down the line yet. Like, he was still ways away from getting to first. But again, you panic. There's 50,000 fans screaming on top of you. Throws the ball to the backstop. Dodgers win and they go to the NLCS again. Um, wasn't pretty. It was an ugly win, but hey, I'll take it. A win's a win, and the Dodgers are off to the NLCS once again. But man, like, I did not want to have this team go back to Philadelphia because, it's one thing. They did what they were supposed to do. They took both games in Philadelphia, and I'm sorry. Like, if they had to go back to Philadelphia, I would have not liked their chances. Maybe I'm just being naive. Maybe I'm just being crazy. Maybe you could tell me, oh, what are you talking about? Tawny's going to pitch, and you could have Snell coming out of the bullpen in relief. But it's like, I know the Dodgers went in there and won 2 games earlier in the week, but man, like, if you couldn't win one of these 2 games at home to end it, oh, man, the Phillies would have had all the momentum going back home. Their fans would have been really into it, really going crazy. Because, you go back to Monday night, the Philly fan base, and I heard it on Twitter and a couple people that I know, they thought it was over. They thought it was over. They thought they were just going to get rolled in Game 3, and that was going to be it. But they had the offensive breakout, and and then they get their hearts crushed in Game 4, and that's terrible. And I feel bad for the kid, Rhino. I feel bad for him. Obviously we've all seen the shot of him with his hands on his knees, looking down, and the Dodger players are just sprinting right past him to get to Pages. But you could almost see it on the reactions of the Dodger players, like Freddie. They couldn't believe what they just saw. Like, they couldn't believe that he just threw it to home, threw it to the backstop, and the game's over. But you heard that same sentiment from a lot of the guys in the Dodger clubhouse after the win, that they did not want to go back to Philadelphia. Did not want to, and I don't blame them to. And the Dodgers were able to get a win, and they were able to go to the NLCS. I could say it now because the series is over, but in the Dodgers, and I do think this will get broken eventually, because records are meant to be broken, and you get in these so many times. Eventually, you could lose it. I hope it doesn't happen, but in the Dodger franchise history of being in the division series in a best of 5, when the Dodgers have gone up 2-0 in the best of 5 in any division series, they've never lost the series. They've always won, And that was put in jeopardy this week, yesterday. That was put in jeopardy. But thankfully, the Dodgers don't have to go to Philadelphia. They can have a couple days off. They didn't have to burn Ohtani or Snell twice in this series. And they can get these guys off their feet for a little bit. Watch Cubs Brewers, which thankfully they're in a Game 5 tomorrow. They can relax a little bit, enjoy it, get some rest. Some guys are really going to need it, and they can prep their rotation for how they want for wherever. The next opponent they have to play in the National League Championship Series. But um, good series all around. The offense had its moments, where it was kind of frustrating to watch. Shohei Ohtani was 1 for 19 in this series with 9 strikeouts, and they still won the series. That's incredible, but nobody's talking about it because number one, he pitched well in game one, 6 innings, 9 strikeouts, and number two, the Phillies offense, particularly the top of the order in Turner, Schwarber, and Harper, did nothing this series. They did nothing. They had the breakout game in game three, but other than that, didn't really do much. And that's gotta be disappointing if you're a Phillies fan. And like I mentioned, I think I mentioned this going into the series with my preview. All the pressure was on Philadelphia to win this series because they have a lot of free agents now. Schwarber's going to be a free agent this offseason. JT Realmuto is going to be a free agent this offseason. There's questions about should we bring Rob Thompson back, the Phillies manager. So this Philly team is going to look a lot different next year. And it looks like their window may have just closed because and these guys are not getting any younger. Harper's in his mid 30s. Schwarber, all these guys are in their 30s, and you gotta wonder if did they just miss their opportunity to win a championship? And all the pressure was on the Phillies to win this series, and they didn't. They didn't deliver, and the Dodgers came through, and now they're off to the championship series again. So, great night. Kind of a slow start, and I know there was a lot of people on Twitter, a lot of people on social media giving Dodger fans and Dodgers and LA crap for because yeah, at first pitch 308 yesterday, the building was not full. It was not. It was not full, but um it's 3 o'clock. It's on a Thursday, a weekday. People have to work. It was a joke that Major League Baseball scheduled that game at 3:08. They should have put the Cubs in the afternoon like they did yesterday and kept the Dodgers at 6. But hey, I don't make the schedule. But it was a late arriving crowd, and you know, Dodger Stadium got loud, man. It got loud in there, especially in the later innings, like in the seventh inning and beyond. It got loud and it got crazy in there. So um, the Dodgers came through, and they're off to the championship series again. This is, I believe, the seventh time or eighth time in 13 years now that they're going to be playing for a National League pennant. That's incredible, man. I've said it before and I'll say it again. This is the golden age of Dodger baseball, without question. And it's not done yet. Dodgers still got to get 8 more wins here. But, we said this coming into this series that it had this feeling of, whoever comes out on top in this Dodger Philly series most likely is going to go to the World Series just because these two teams felt like on paper were the best two teams. Dodgers got through it. And now they have a couple days off here. And after taking 2 games in Philly, I think this Dodger team, not that they didn't have the confidence before this series. I always felt they had the confidence, but they could play and win anywhere. I really don't think it matters for this Dodger club who they play. I think they would prefer the Cubs just because they would have the home field. They're already at home. They could stay home for a little bit longer. But um, it was a perfect day yesterday. The Dodgers ended up winning their series, and then the Cubs forced a Game 5 against the Brewers. So now they have to use their more pitchers, and they have to go play each other one more time Saturday night to determine who the Dodgers play in the next round. But classic. I'm not going to go all-time great game because these offenses did not really do much, but nobody's going to remember that with the Dodgers side because the Dodgers ended up winning this series, and man, it's going to be a brutal offseason for the Phillies, man. I feel bad for that kid, and, I couldn't even imagine if that was me in that position blowing the game like that. But Dodgers win 2-1, and now they're off to the league championship series again. And it feels nice because I can enjoy a couple days off here, reset, not have to work. I could watch a Game 5 tonight, Tigers, Mariners, and then I could watch Game 5, Cubs, Brewers tomorrow. So, fantastic. Yeah, there you go. Dodgers, 8 more wins to go. We're not done yet. But, man, what an all-time game. What a classic game yesterday. And I'm so glad my team came out on top, man. I was stressing. I was nervous, man. I did not want the Dodgers to go back to Philadelphia. And for a moment there, it felt like that was going to happen. But Dodgers came through once again, and now they're 8 wins away from repeating as world champions. There you go. All right, well, it's going to do it for this recap. 20 minutes, I think, is enough. I've said everything I needed to say, I believe. And yeah, I'll see you next week in the championship series. Adios.